Welcome back to your go-to solo lawn care business podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Sutter. Today, I want to jump into the beginner series again. A while back, if you guys have been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that I did a beginner series last year or the year before. So it's been a while. But today, I wanted to get on here and talk to you about estimating. So this is the beginner series. So if you're not a beginner, if you've been in the business for a while, you might not be interested in this podcast, but you might listen and hear a few things that you agree with or don't agree with. And I would love for you, if you're watching on YouTube, to comment down below in the comments and tell me what you agree with or disagree with. Also, if you're just finding the podcast on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We put out podcasts, or I put out podcasts once a week, at least I try to. Last week, I was sick and I did not have a voice, so I could not get on here and make an episode. But I'm feeling much better this week, but it has still been a very stressful week because things here in Michigan, they're starting to kick off. I'm starting to get more calls for estimates and for driveway estimates, and so it's a lot of work. It's been a lot of work this week and last week doing estimates and trying to still make money with things like Walmart Spark, right? Because I'm not actually out doing the work yet. I'm just estimating the work. And so I have to be ready to go out and make that money, but I'm not able to make that money yet. The temps just aren't there yet. The grass hasn't grown yet. I've done one spring cleanup so far, and that was a big one. It was like a 3-acre property. It was huge. I undercharged it, and that kind of stunk. I undercharged it by about $100. However, I picked up the lawn for the whole season, and it's a good lawn. There is a future in this lawn. The person that owns the house is a physician. He's a orthopedic surgeon, actually. So very good income. And the wife of the family doesn't want him mowing the lawn anymore because it takes too much of his time. She told me that it takes them like the whole weekend to mow the lawn. And so she would rather have his time because they just had a newborn kid, and I think they have a couple other kids as well. And so they really want to be able to have that family time. So they started looking for people like me. And so I got the job, and I'm really excited about it. I did do the first cut because it didn't get cut late last year like it should have been. And so they have some disease that creeped in, like snow mold and things like that. That'll go away. But I had to cut it again because it was fairly long before it's really started growing here. So I got the first cut in, and I also did the cleanup, just basic stuff like mulching up leaves that just didn't get done last year because this is a busy family, right? They're a busy family. He's a surgeon, so he works weird hours and just can't find the time to get it done. So I picked up that lawn. I'm really excited about that. But today's episode is all about estimating for the beginner. So I'm part of several Facebook groups, and there's one group that I am a part of that I'm seeing a lot of posts from. And most of the posts are about pricing. And so I've done a couple of episodes on pricing and knowing your break-even number and things like that, which is something you need to know if you're going to be accurate in pricing, because you can't base your price off of what someone else is charging. You need to know what you need to charge for that property. It's not about what the competition is charging, because at the end of the day, that doesn't matter, right? If you're going to go to someone and estimate their property, you have to know your break-even number. You can't go below that number, because if you do, you won't make any money, right? You'll just be breaking even. That's why you want to know that number, okay? Now, someone commented on there, because I made a comment that you need to know your overhead, and it's true. You need to know your overhead because that's part of your break-even number. And someone commented on that and said, You can't just base your price off of your overhead. And I totally agree. But most people have no idea what their overhead is. And so they're charging whatever number floats into their brain. And so you have to have a baseline for what you have to charge. And that is why I encourage guys to find their break-even number, right? Per lawn. And the more lawns you pick up, the lower that break-even number can go. Now, I don't change my break-even number. Right now, I've got 15 clients. And, well, actually, I've got 13 clients because I lost a couple just because of life circumstances and things like that. Just, it is what it is. That's fine. But, so it's 13 customers. I price, my break-even number is still what I had my break-even number at last year. And here's the reasoning for that is I picked up this new lawn. That's going to replace all three of the lawns that I lost, plus some, right? So I'm still within that break-even point for financially. And I plan to pick up more clients, right? Actually, I picked up two lawns so far. So we're just going to keep that going. And hopefully I will get up to 30 clients this year. That's the goal. And be able to service them and keep that break-even number at the same spot it was last year with 15 clients, because that means I'm making more money. Even though my break-even number went from here to here because I have more customers, that doesn't mean I'm going to lower that break-even number. Because then if you lower that break-even number, while it is good to know what that is, you don't need to lower it anymore because you already know what your higher break-even number is. So you know if you have more customers than you did when you calculated your break-even number, then that's just, the rest of that is just profit, right? And so you can go from that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be accurate. I think you should calculate your break-even number every single year. I went through that process earlier this spring and calculated it out for myself, right? And so I'm basically at the same spot as I was before. So I'm not worried about that, right? But I want to get higher. So I don't plan on staying where I'm at. I plan to grow the business, but I'm going to keep that break-even number the same. Even though that number is going to go down as I get more clients, I want to keep that number the same because there's all sorts of different factors that can play into this. The changing gas prices, all changing equipment prices, changing oil prices, all that stuff. So you have a buffer there. So I just keep that the same. Now, if it's drastic, if I do get 30 customers, of course, next year I will recalculate my break-even number. And we will lower that, and I will still be pricing as high as I can, right? And you should too. The break-even number doesn't tell you that, hey, you're charging too much or too little. I mean, it does tell you if you're charging too little, but it doesn't tell you if you're charging too much, right? Because you want to get that top dollar. You want to get as much as you can, right? That's a business. So, but you also want to be fair. So anyway, all this to say, all of these things play into estimating. When you go out to a property, all those factors play into giving an estimate. Now I want to talk a little bit, first of all, about, and I just realized I didn't hit record on the podcast. So I'm going to use the video audio for the podcast. Oh, man, that sucks. Anyway, so if the audio is terrible on this podcast, it's because I forgot to click the record button on my podcast recorder. So, oh boy, everybody does it sometimes, but that's the perks of videotaping, is that I actually have the audio from the video. So at least I have that, right? So Anyway, back to estimating. So all of these things factor into estimating, and I'm just going to go through some bullet points that I have down here. It's nothing profound necessarily, but these are things that you need to think about, especially if you're just getting started in business and you have no idea what you're doing, okay? And that's really who this episode is for, okay? So the first bullet point that I have here is create your own estimate forms. Now, I'm not saying don't go online and find some other estimate forms for lawn care and look at them, spread them out, print them off, spread them out over your countertop, and look at each one and take little bits from each one and create your own, right? Something that works for you. And this is going to be your first iteration of an estimate form. I created my own estimate forms way back when I started, and my estimate form today is completely different from what it was back when I first started. You will evolve as a business owner. You will eventually get really good at creating forms that encompass everything that you need or think you need on an estimate form. Anything that might come up, right? You've got to do that. And something that goes along with creating your own estimate form is creating your terms and conditions. You want that on your estimate form, okay? I have learned you want that on your estimate form. Now today, terms and conditions are the easiest they have ever been to create because we have ChatGPT, whatever that's called. And so you can go in there, you can tell ChatGPT exactly what you want and exactly kind of the verbiage you want. It'll spit something out. You can print it off and you can change it, right? You can copy and paste it into a Word document, and you can go in there and you can change whatever you need to change. And yes, technically you should have a lawyer look it over. I personally haven't done that because I think it's good enough. We're just cutting grass, right? I don't plan to smash my mower through someone's house wall, okay? And that's what insurance is for, right? And I know for me, I'm on time. I come when I say I'm going to come. I know that I am going to do the work that I say I'm going to do. Now, that's what the terms and conditions are for. But if you're billing without card on file, you're going to want all of that information in there, all the billing information of if you're late, this is what happens. You get so much of a fee, whatever that is, right? Now, if you have a card on file, you don't necessarily need to do that because guess what? You have a card on file. You can charge that on the first of every single month for the work you have done. You don't have to worry about that anymore. That's the beauty of having a card on file, which is leading me to something new that EARTHAPRO has just come out with. They have card on file. Finally. Thank you, EARTHAPRO. So, guys, I am a big proponent of EARTHAPRO. They do sponsor the podcast, and I do talk about them, but I would use them anyway if they weren't a sponsor, right? Because when I signed up with EARTHAPRO, they were not a sponsor of this podcast. So I would encourage you to at least check out earthapro.com. Guys, the next bullet point that I have here for you is measure the lawn if you want to. If you have come up with a formula where you can measure the lawn and get the square footage and you can price a lawn off the square footage, do it. If you found a good formula for that, do it. And if you're getting the amount of money that you need to make, if you're above your break-even point, then you are making the money you need to make, right? To at least stay in business. Now, of course, you want profit above that, right? Your break-even number is just that number where you're going to break even. You're not going to make any, but you're not going to lose any. Okay? That's how we do it, right? And so if you want to measure the lawns to get a square footage, if you're planning to do fertilization and weed control, then you're going to need to measure the lawn. And if you're planning to do that, you might as well just do it right out of the gate and just measure the lawn and get the square footage, right? There's software that can do this for you. You can measure a lawn with using like Google Maps or whatever. There's all kinds of measurement tools online today. So there's no excuse for not measuring a lawn or a property. Okay, so if you want to measure it, go ahead. I personally don't do that. I have done it, but I didn't have a good pricing algorithm for that. And so I've done lawn care for long enough. I can look at a lawn, I can look it over and pretty well price it fairly well. Now, when I first started in this new area that I'm in, I did not price very well because I was used to mowing like half-acre lots, and it's just not it's not the same. Pricing acreage is not the same as these small little cookie cutter lawns. It's just not. There's a lot more that goes into acreage properties. There's a lot of times there's like a ditch that leads to another set of buildings that you got to mow around. And sometimes mentally it's just hard to factor that stuff in. Now, if I was measuring the lawn, maybe I would get that a little bit better. Doesn't matter. I figured it out. Okay, so pricing is good now for my business. So that's where I'm at. But I'm just wanting to say, if you want to measure the lawn, if you feel most comfortable with your estimates and measuring the lawn, that's what you should do. And write down those measurements so the homeowner has the measurements in front of them on their estimate form, and they have the square footage. There's no secrets, right? That's what you need to do, okay? And then you come up with your price. I'm totally cool with that if that's how you want to do it. Estimate using time rather than size. So that's what I do. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do it this way, just like measuring. I'm not saying you have to measure. Estimate off your time. If you don't have any experience, then what you need to do, if you have a lawn, if you're a homeowner and you have a lawn, or if you have other lawns and you know approximately the size of that lawn, you take out your smartphone, you set a stopwatch, and you time yourself for how long it takes to mow that lawn. Then you picture that lawn in your head, you picture the acreage lawn, and you say, okay, if I put how many of those small lawns would fit in this lawn, that amount of time is how much it's going to take me to do this big lawn, right? Or just if it's the same size cookie cutter lawn and you're happy with the money that you're making, you're above your break-even point, then that's it. That's what you can do. And you can fudge it a little bit. You can go up with price a little bit to see what happens. You might not get that lawn, or you might get that lawn, right? Because I've done jobs where I go estimate a job and they're like, oh, wow, that seems really low. And then I'm like, shoot, man, I should have priced it higher, right? If a customer says to you, boy, that seems really low, your price isn't high enough. You know, there are people out there that will not go with your company because your price is too low, not because it's too high. I have run into that because they think they're not going to get the quality of work because your price is so low. You have to, this is why pricing is so important. This is why estimating is so important. This is why I'm a big proponent of actually going out and seeing the property, not just looking on Google Maps, not just looking on your computer and giving a price. You can do that if you have all cookie cutter properties. If you're in the city, that's not a huge deal because it's going to be in that range. But when you have all different sizes of properties, that's where it becomes an issue, and you have to go look at those properties to see if they are, if it looks like it does online. Because guess what? Google Maps might have not been there for 2 years. That image might not have updated for a long time. And I've experienced this with like driveway repairs. What I do is I go on Google Earth and I will just type in the address just to see the property, see what it looks like, maybe see how long the driveway might be. And then I go out and look at it and everything looks good. Then you get there and it is a terrible mess. And you have to go lay eyes on it yourself. All right. Estimating using software, we just talked about that. Calculate your break-even number. We've been talking about that, right? It's super important to estimating, because if you don't know your break-even number, you have no idea what to even start with charging, because your break-even number might be $50, so you got to charge $75, right? Whereas your competition, their break-even number might be $30, and so they can charge $50. It does not matter what other companies are charging in your area, because you have to cover your bills. You're not covering your competition's bills, you're covering your own. It doesn't matter. You have to know your numbers, not your competition's numbers. It matters, right? You might have a lot more debt than your competition has. You might have a lot more payments. You might have a lot more overhead. It matters how much you have to make, not how much your competition has to make. That's what the pros know. That's what the pros understand. That's why, hey, yes, a company can come in and undercut you because they have less overhead. It's as simple as that. It is not always some Joe Schmo or Chuck in the truck coming up and charging $25 for a $50 lawn. Sometimes it's a company that has very low overhead and they are just beating you on price. And there's nothing you can do about it. You have to make your break-even number at least, and you got to be higher than that. It just is what it is. All right, let's keep going here. Don't forget about profit. It is so huge and it's so easy to forget about profit, because if you're hitting that break-even number, great, I'm hitting the break-even number, but you're not getting above that. And if you don't know what's your break-even number, then you have no idea if you're profitable. You have no clue if you're making money. You could just be covering your bills. You're just working to pay off your equipment. You have to know your break-even so that you can calculate how much profit you want to make. It's that simple. And I'm not the type of person that is going to wait till the end of the year to figure out what profit I'm making, right? I want to make a profit now, not at the end of the year. I want to be taking profit now. So I'm a big proponent of the profit first method. If you haven't heard of profit first, go to Amazon and get the book Profit First. It will change your business, okay? It will change your business. Trust me, do it, okay? It's very, very, very important that you focus on profit, because that's why we're in business, is to make money. We're here to make a profit, not just to pay our bills, but to make a profit, right? That is, the profit is the bonus for owning a business. Profit is not your salary. You should be paying your salary. Your salary should be part of your break-even number. Everyone's salary should be part of your break-even number. Your profit is over and above all expenses and all, what do they say? All the paychecks, all the, I don't know. I can't remember. My brain is fried for the day. I've been doing estimates all day. My brain is completely fried. But you want to make sure that everyone is paid and all your bills are paid. Then whatever is left on top, that is profit. But if you know your break-even number, you can calculate your profit into your estimated numbers, so you know how much profit you're going to make per job. It's fascinating and it's really cool. And profit is where a lot of these people like Jeff Bezos and people like that, that's where they make their money. They make a profit. Now, maybe not just Jeff Bezos, because, well, yes, he does make a profit. Amazon makes a profit. He gets a salary and he owns stock, right? That's where, because they're a publicly traded company, so that profit actually goes to shareholders. It doesn't just go to Jeff Bezos. These are small LLC companies. That's different. That profit can go to you, or you can choose to split it among your employees, right? You can choose to do profit sharing, right? You can do any number of things. You can roll the profit back into the business. You can do all sorts of things with that bonus money. That profit is bonus money. And that's where a lot of people get rich. It's where a lot of people go broke too. That's why the break-even number is so incredibly important. All right. Confidence is key when you are estimating. Oh my goodness, it is vital that you walk up to a customer's house with confidence. You know what you're talking about. You know how long it's going to take. You're giving out confident numbers. You are exuding confidence in yourself and in your work. If you do not have the confidence when you're estimating, you will not win nearly as many jobs. You have to walk up to that door with confidence. You have to stick to your guns. If they try to whittle you down on price, stick to your guns. You are confident that you know that your price is the most competitive that you can give, and that is your price. And don't budge. Don't budge on that price. You can maybe do a service for free or something like that in order to sweeten the pot, right? But you're not lowering your price. This is what I have to charge, and that's that. And people actually really appreciate that. They don't want somebody walking up to the door and saying, oh, well, I might be able to do it for this, or I might be able to do it for that, or I might be able to cut a corner here or there and save you a little money. No, they don't want that. Well, while they might think they want that, they do not want that. Psychologically, they don't want that. They want the best quality work for the best price. And if that's not you, that's not you. But you're not going to budge on that price. You're going to walk up with confidence. And they want someone that's on their property with confidence, because if you have confidence in yourself, they will have confidence in you. That's just the way it is. All right, let's see. Communicate clearly on your estimate form. So if you have your estimate form and you're writing it out, maybe you weren't able to meet with the customer, you're going to email that estimate form to them. Write out what you're going to do. Have a space on your estimate form for like a description of what you're going to do, the equipment you're using. Is it professional grade? Is it homeowner grade? What are you using? Are you using a stand-on mower? Are you using a zero turn? Are you using a push mower? You don't have to describe the trimmers necessarily or the blowers, because people pretty much know what that is. Those things aren't necessarily going to damage property, but you're explaining what you're going to do when you're there. And that holds you to that standard. If you set that standard and you're not holding to that, they're going to look at that estimate form, because they do keep it, because they want to have that price on hand. They are going to hold you to that standard. And if you're not meeting it, if you're not meeting the standard that you set, then there's a problem, right? And then they'll probably look for another company because you're not holding your own standard. Okay? So communicate clearly on your estimate forms. Write it out. Be clear. Good handwriting. If you have to, type it up. If you have to, type it in. I've done that many times, because you want it to be as clear as possible. You want it to be as professional as possible. You don't want to be sloppy. Okay? We're coming to the end here, guys. Let's see. Last thing that I have on here is include your terms and conditions on your estimate form. And you know what? We already talked about that. So guys, that is really it for this episode. I don't even know how long this is, because I forgot to hit record on the podcast recorder. So guys, that's really it. Be clear, be concise, tell them what you're going to tell them, have confidence, know your break-even number so that you know that you're profitable, and just exude confidence when you go and estimate these properties. Don't be shy. They want you to be confident. They asked you there. They want you there. They want you to do the work. Even if it's your first estimate, walk in there like you have done thousands of estimates. And just do your homework and exude confidence when you walk in there. It is so important that you have that confidence that I'm going to price this. I'm going to be exact on my price. I know my break-even number. I know how much profit I want to make. And here it is. Take it or leave it. And that's really what estimating is all about. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. I really do appreciate it. Make sure that you click that subscribe button. Also, make sure you leave a rating and review if these podcasts are helpful for you. Those ratings and reviews really help push this podcast out to more people. Guys, that's it. Thanks so much for watching and listening, and I will see you in the next episode.